Welcome everyone. So today in this video lecture, we will discuss 15 more questions of MCQ series part 2 from neurology. So basically in this lecture, in this series, we will discuss about the different parts of the brain. 15 important questions related to different parts of the brain. Part 2 from in this about the parts of the parts of the. So let's start. Question number 1. Okay. Okay. So we should start with the question number 1. Which structure is described as containing the falx cerebelli? Falx cerebri. It is actually the folding of the dura mater and separating the cerebrum into right and left hemisphere. That means which part of the brain? Which part of the brain contains falx cerebri? It is a folding of the dura mater, and which part will separate the entire brain, cerebrum, into two hemispheres? So this one. Okay. So this longitudinal fissure, that is the medial longitudinal fissure. So transverse fissure, great longitudinal fissure, okay, sylvian fissure, central sulcus. Okay, so the correct answer is this one, great longitudinal fissure. Okay. Question number 2. Which of the following forms of major commissural pathway connecting the two cerebral hemisphere across the midline? Okay, again, which of the following forms the major commissural pathway connecting the, so this is the key point, connecting the two cerebral hemisphere across the midline. Means across the midline, the two cerebral hemispheres are connected by which pathway? Okay, so internal capsule, falx cerebri, corpus callosum, brainstem. Okay, so it is your corpus callosum. Okay, so corpus callosum is a band of nerve fiber which will connect both the cerebral hemisphere. Okay, so the corpus callosum forms the major commissural pathway connecting the two hemisphere across the midline. Question number 3. Regarding the surfaces of the cerebral hemisphere, which description is correct according to the given sources? So option A, superolateral surface is flat. It is wrong actually. It is normally convex. The medial surface is convex. Okay. The inferior ventral surface is irregular. The medial surface is irregular. Okay. So this one, the inferior surface is irregular. Okay. Inferior means this surface of the brain. It is irregular. So the superolateral surface is convex. Okay. So this surface are convex. Okay. The inferior ventral surface is irregular due to the underlying structure, and the medial surface is flat actually. Okay, if you see, this is the medial surface. Okay, medial surface is flat. Superolateral surface is your what? Convex, but the inferior ventral surface is irregular. Which lobe of the cerebral hemisphere is described as containing cortical areas related to the gustatory perception, gustation, taste? Okay, so frontal lobe, temporal lobe, occipital lobe, parietal lobe. So these are the typical questions. Okay, so the correct answer is your parietal lobe. The parietal lobe occupies dorsomedial region. You can see this is the parietal lobe area and contain cortical areas related to gustatory perception. Okay. Next. Question number 5. The prefrontal cortex located at the frontal pole is involved in which of the following function? Okay. at this part you will find that structure here. So here you will find prefrontal cortex, visual processing, auditory association, emotional depth, judgment, foresight, primary motor execution. Okay, so this is the answer. Okay, so inferolateral portion, sorry, this is not actually this one. Medial aspect, your emotional regulation. Okay, so basically, sorry, this question actually, this one. Okay, so first 5, then we go to the 6. So this question, the prefrontal cortex located at the frontal lobe pole is involved in which of the following functions? Means this one. Okay, so answer is your C, emotional depth, judgment, and foresight. Okay, so the prefrontal cortex is involved in higher cognitive functions, including your emotional depth, judgment, foresight, sophisticated behavior, regulation. Okay, and this one, where is the limbic lobe located and what is the primary function? It is a very, very important question. You may find this question in various kind of competitive exams, whether it is your university, college internal exam, or in future, suppose you want to appear ICR exam. Okay, you may find this question. So basically here you will find, okay, at the medial aspect. Okay, so at the medial aspect, and that is for the emotional regulation. The limbic lobe situated on the medial aspect of cerebral hemisphere at the inferior, at the deepest part. At the deepest part, it is present actually at the medial aspect. It is primarily involved in the emotional regulation and related behavioral responses. Okay, so this question is very, very important. Your limbic lobe is also called as the emotional brain. Question number 7. The primary motor cortex governs voluntary movement of the contralateral musculature and occupy which gyrus? Occupy which gyrus? Actually, for that you have to first master in the brain topic. Okay, then only you can able to solve these questions. Okay, the primary motor cortex governs the voluntary in our paid course. Okay, Vetsnotes app you can check. There I have given a detailed 3D view of the brain. Okay, brain topic uploaded. The primary motor cortex governs voluntary movement of the contralateral musculature and occupies which gyrus? Okay, so this one, precentral gyrus. Okay, at this part actually you will find a sulcus. Okay, at this part you will find actually the central sulcus you will find. Okay, and this part is called as the precentral gyrus, and this part is called as the postcentral gyrus. Okay, so the primary motor cortex, okay, that area is found in the mainly this precentral gyrus. Okay, so gyrus are the elevations on the surface of the brain, and sulci are the depressions between the gyrus. Okay, so this is the gyrus actually. The elevations are gyrus. Okay, the elevations are gyrus, and between them you will find the depressions. Okay, the depressions are actually, so these are actually gyrus. Okay, and the depressions are sulci or sulcus. The primary somatosensory cortex mediates the analysis of cutaneous and proprioceptive inputs and is located in dash. Okay, that is the postcentral gyrus. Okay, here this is the precentral, this is the postcentral gyrus. So these two are the very, very important questions. Okay, 7 and your 8. Okay, so this one, postcentral gyrus. Okay, the primary somatosensory cortex is located along the postcentral gyrus, including its medial extension. Question number 9. Which area occupies the posterior most part of the occipital lobe particularly around the calcarine sulcus. Okay, it is very simple. At this aspect, you will find mainly your visual cortex area. You will find actually. Okay, the primary visual cortex area or vision. Okay, the primary visual cortex occupies the posterior most part of the occipital lobe, particularly around the calcarine sulcus. Okay. Then, question number 10. The primary auditory cortex lies on the superior surface of which gyrus? It is for auditory hearing. These are the typical questions from the brain. In various exams, you will find these typical questions. Okay. So, precentral gyrus. So, it is not the answer. Precentral gyrus. Okay. Postcentral gyrus. It is actually your what? Superior temporal gyrus. Okay. At this part. At this part you will find. Okay. It is very important. The psychical or association cortex is concerned with recall of the past experiences and is situated in important questions. Okay. So at this part it is present actually. The posterior occipital lobe, antero temporal lobe, superior parietal lobe, medial frontal lobe. The options are very confusing. So be careful. Okay. This one. At the anterior part of the, so this is the temporal lobe. Okay. At this part you will find this structure. Okay. Anterotemporal lobe. This region is present in the anterotemporal lobe. Okay. And is concerned with the integration and recall of the your past experiences. Question number 12. Which major landmark begins near the base of the brain? Very important questions. Okay. Near the base of the brain and separate the frontal, parietal and temporal lobes. Okay. So this is the answer. Sylvian or lateral fissure. At this point you will find a fissure, you will find actually. Okay. Sylvian or lateral fissure is the answer. The Sylvian or lateral fissure forms a major landmark separating the frontal, parietal, temporal lobe. Okay. So this is the frontal lobe. Here you will find the parietal lobe, temporal lobe. Okay. That partitions, the major partition, this one is formed by the your Sylvian or lateral fissure. A very, very important question. Which fissure is described as an extended groove? Also very important question. Extended a groove passing along the inferolateral aspect of the hemisphere in a longitudinal manner. Means this one. Okay. This one you can see. This is the rhinal sulcus fissure, is an extended groove which passes along the inferior and the lateral, means at this aspect, in a longitudinal manner. This one means this one. At the inferior part in a longitudinal manner, you will find this your rhinal sulcus you will find. Okay. So this is the answer. These are not answers. 14. The calloso-marginal or cingulate sulcus fissure is described as dash. Okay. A short linear depression at the posterior part of the medial surface, a furrow between the corpus callosum and callosal convolution, a long curved depression at the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere, a transverse fissure situated at the middle. Okay, so this one. So you can see. So this is the answer. A long curved depression at the medial surface. Okay. Calloso-marginal or cingulate sulcus. So this one. This structure. Okay. So calloso-marginal or cingulate sulcus is a long curved depression at the medial surface between the collodial convolutions and convolutions at the dorsomedial border. According to this source text, okay, whatever we have, the posterior superior fissure are 3 in number, okay, and they are posterior super there. So according to the source or the information what we have, okay, in the various textbook, the posterior superior fissure, okay, are 3 in number. One, posterior superior central, posterior superior medial, and the third one is actually what? This one. Okay, posterior superior lateral. Okay, these are not the option. So these were the 15 most important MCQ from the topic the brain, its lobes, hemisphere, gyrus and sulcus. Okay, so thanks for watching. Okay, meet you in the next video.